The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a severe global recession that has affected different types of businesses and their ability to pay their debts. In this section, we will explore how the pandemic has impacted various sectors of the economy and how they have responded to the crisis. One of the most affected sectors by the pandemic was the non-financial sector, which includes households, businesses, and the government. According to a report by the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, non-financial sector debt rose from 251% of GDP in the fourth quarter of 2019 before the pandemic to about 305% at its peak and stabilized at 281% of GDP in the first quarter of 2021. This increase was driven by a combination of factors, such as lower income, higher spending, lower tax revenues, and higher borrowing. Households faced a sharp drop in income due to job losses, pay cuts, and reduced hours. According to a survey by Pew Research Center, about half of non-retired adults say the economic impact of the coronavirus outbreak will make it harder for them to achieve their long-term financial goals. Among those who say their financial situation has gotten worse during the pandemic, 44% think it will take them 3 years or more to get back to where they were a year ago. Many households had to rely on government stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, and other forms of assistance to cover their expenses. Some also had to take on debt or put off paying their bills in order to cope with the crisis. Businesses also faced a significant decline in revenue due to lockdowns, social distancing measures, and reduced consumer demand. Some sectors, such as hospitality, tourism, entertainment, and retail, were hit harder than others. Many businesses had to close temporarily or permanently, lay off workers, or reduce their wages. Some also had to restructure their operations, invest in new technologies, or adapt to new market conditions. To survive the crisis, many businesses had to borrow more money from banks, bond markets, or government programs. However, some businesses also benefited from the pandemic, such as those in e-commerce, healthcare, technology, and online services. The government also increased its spending and borrowing to support the economy and mitigate the effects of the pandemic. According to a report by the OECD, governments around the world implemented unprecedented fiscal stimulus measures amounting to about 16% of GDP on average in 2020. These measures included direct transfers to households and businesses, tax relief, health spending, public investment, and guarantees for loans and credit. However, these measures also resulted in higher public debt levels, which could pose challenges for future fiscal sustainability and growth. The financial sector was less affected by the pandemic than the non-financial sector, as it had more resilience and liquidity than during the previous global recession. According to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, financial sector debt increased during 2020, but roughly returned to its pre-pandemic level as a percentage of GDP. The financial sector also played a key role in providing credit and financing to households and businesses during the crisis. However, the financial sector also faced some risks and uncertainties due to lower interest rates, higher defaults, lower profitability, and increased regulation. In conclusion, the COVID-19 recession has had a significant impact on different types of businesses and their ability to pay their debts. The non-financial sector experienced a large increase in debt levels due to lower income and higher spending. The financial sector was more stable, but also faced some challenges. The recovery from the recession will depend on various factors, such as the pace and effectiveness of vaccination campaigns, the evolution of new variants of the virus, the policy responses by governments and central banks, and the structural changes in consumer behavior and business models.